liberty, and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Many personnel items to discuss as we get closer and closer to that day after Labor Day when all the kids come back. So we will go ahead and get started, and modifications to the agenda. And before we do that, I would ask Brad, if you could, we do have Kira, our board clerk, is out tonight, and if I could have, you could just make a motion to appoint Doreen.
Yes, I'd like to
as interim.
Yes, to ask that we move that we appoint Doreen Bowles as our interim board clerk.
I'll second.
Sean said it first.
Okay.
All in favor? That's everyone. Jay True and Chris Malcolm are absent tonight, so it'll just be the group. So Doreen, thank you again for sitting in, and on to receiving.
Oh, no.
Oh, sorry, modifications. Sorry, guys. There are modifications to the agenda now that we have a board clerk. Go ahead, Sean.
I think I want to add to item 5, would become 5C, would be a discussion and review of policy 1740, 1741, and 1742. And for those board members, it's put into your Dropbox. If you can get it updated.
It now is. Courtesy of Mr. Moon, it now works.
Fantastic.
And I'd like to also note that we need to add a supplemental personnel report to the consent agenda, and that report's dated today.
And that is a report that I have in my hand, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And it is also in the Dropbox.
It's also in Dropbox.
As well. All right. Noted. Very good. Anything else? Good. All right. We'll move on. Public and staff. I don't have a sign-up list. I'll look around.
I'm sorry. It's already my
All right. Obviously, Doreen is hiding things from me, but that's fine. And we have an artist, and Gwen Bullock.
Is there a timekeeper for the 2 minutes?
Do we need one?
I don't know. You can cut me off. My name is Gwen Bullock. I received the New York State Council of the Arts grant, and I'm going to pass around some of the results of that grant to you. I taught at DeWitt Middle School with Bob Walters, Photoshop and digital photography. And at that time I got the grant in January, I made arrangements at Tompkins Trust Company for an exhibit, which is going up this weekend, 15 images. And this book also will be there with 75 images from the students. So I wanted to tell you a couple things about the project. First of all, the very first page in this book is Shavante's work. Shavante is a student who always has an escort in school, and I did not know when he did his work that he was the student that I was seeing in the classroom. So I found that this kind of work really breaks through social problems for students. Secondly, I wanted to point out that the students went to Ellis Island and they studied Ellis Island, and this had a great impact on a lot of their work. And they were struggling with how you can show a story of the Holocaust when it's in the past and they're taking pictures in the present. So we worked through those problems. And thirdly, the third project of my work was for them to create an image in a discipline that they were studying outside of technology that I was working with in Bob Walters' class. And so one of the examples you'll see is that they wanted to illustrate pi in math. And so the value of the project is teaching students that photography is not just about taking pictures, but it's also about expanding other projects that have that you can expand a written project with photographs and Photoshop and your own creative images. So I'll be making this application again for this project again next year, or for the year 2013. I hope you'll come to Tompkins Trust and see it on the wall.
Great. Great, thanks, Wes. And John Oakley.
Hi.
There's John.
So I'm the Vice President of the Ithaca Substitutes Association, and which you have all heard of, but probably not spent an immense amount of time. I'm here to talk about something that you probably addressed in executive session this time, certainly last time. I'm not going to be too direct about it. I don't know how you decided tonight. I want you to know how critically important it is that all employees, including substitutes, feel that they will be treated in a just manner, and that a simple allegation of any misdeed, no matter how serious, a simple allegation is not sufficient grounds to remove somebody from employment. It's very chilling for the members of our union. I think it's very chilling for almost anybody to feel that not a misstep on their part, but a simple misfortune on their part, a happenstance, could ruin their chance to do a job that they like, sometimes love. I think it is also important that there be procedures to protect children. And I think the state has an excellent set of procedures for that. They go far beyond the normal criminal justice system. The state's determination that somebody should be excluded from teaching is a much lower bar than not guilty in a trial. And that procedure is in place. That procedure has been tested. It's a good procedure. It's the procedure that you should follow. You need to follow it on both ends. If you simply exclude one employee for an allegation, you're going to find yourself in a position where you have to exclude all employees for an allegation if you want to be legally protected. I urge you to stick with not the minimum that the law prescribes, but what the law prescribes. And to trust those findings and to do what honestly and completely I feel is the right thing, both for children and for the people who want to do their work for children. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. That was it for those who signed up. Anyone else, staff, public, wishes to speak? Not seeing that, so we'll go move on. And student representatives, there's young people that are desks today, so I'm assuming they're students. And if you can introduce yourselves and let us know what's going on.
I'm Michaela Brew, and I attend Ithaca High School.
I'm Noah Frostclap, and I'm also at Ithaca High School.
I didn't catch your last name.
Noah Frostclap.
Okay.
And we have two concerns today. Today I went in to get my schedule changed, and I was talking to my guidance counselor, Kaz Billick, and there was a conflict that I wanted to switch my science course, and she said that you couldn't switch courses. Like if I wanted to, say, change from bio to chem, I couldn't do that because of new rules set in place, and we were wondering why that was and if you knew anything about that. And also the security guards at the school and the cuts on the security guards and how that's going to affect the safety of the school and the students in the school.
Anything else? Well, we look forward to seeing you both at our meetings this year, and probably a little later in this meeting, the high school team, Principal Powers, etc., will answer many of your concerns. But we'll move on. And any other board responses right now? Anything? Judy's good, so we'll move on. Consent agenda.
I'll move the consent, including the supplemental personnel report.
I'll second.
Second by Pat. Doreen, please let the record show that I'm leaving the room for the vote.
Okay.
You all set, Doreen? Were there any questions that you had? You're right.
And what was he leaving
Right. Consent agenda has been moved. All in favor? That's everyone?
Second that. I seconded it.
Pat did. Pat? Brad moved it. Y'all were kids, well, talking over here and not paying attention to our meeting, but that's okay. So we all good? That's why I asked. Are you okay?
She might not come back.
He did have a problem.
Yeah, it's tough when you make the interim ward clerk upset with the meetings and not want to ever come back again. But Doreen has always helped out very nicely in the past and has always been a great source of how many good things can I say?
Yeah.
You may need to do a whole lot more.
Keep it coming.
So are we good on the consent?
Yes, sir, we are. Thank you.
Right, and we had the requisite number. We did have a quorum, even with the two absences, and Sean stepped out, so we had our 6. So we're all good. All right,
Yes, we
and
are.
certainly Sean should come back in if he wants to come back in. And so we're going to go on, and Dr. Brown, I think we're ready for you.
Sure, thank you. I have several announcements and a couple of things I wish to share with the board tonight. I wish to invite the Board of Education to our State of the District Presentation and Convocation Ceremony on September the 4th. The Culp Auditorium beginning at 8:30. We'll be recognizing staff for their accomplishments. The 25, 30, 35, and a few 140-year person in the district will be given the show service awards out on that morning as well. September the 4th, 8:30 a.m. in Culp Auditorium. We'll open up with all 1,100 plus employees, and looking forward to starting the year off. There will be a ceremony tomorrow night in the high school library for August graduates, and we've done that ceremony in the past, and the board is invited to be a part of that ceremony as well. I wish to highlight a couple of key pieces as we prepare for the opening of school. Everything from getting our buildings clean to routing, transportation. Mr. Gemelis, I wish he was here tonight, but he's done an outstanding job. The board, we have asked transportation to be more efficient and to look for efficiencies, and each year he's done that. And I'm going to read through some of the things he and his staff have been able to accomplish this past summer. They've been able to, through their new routing system and taking a closer look at routing, eliminate 2 full-time routes and 6 half-time routes from last year. They've eliminated all the crossovers on some state highways. Last year we were nervous about some of the crossovers we had to have for obvious reasons on some state highways where we had some people walking across busy roads, and he's eliminated all of those that occurred in the past. There were some, we heard from students last year and others around about the high school and BOE, and the buses getting there a little bit late, later than we'd like them to be there. He's been able to route things so that buses will all be at the high school by 8:30 a.m. and to BOEs in the afternoons on time as well. We said that we wanted to support our after-school programs and community programs that were based in our schools after school. The GO program is one. He's been able to route and to arrange routes to allow for those programs to start sooner in the school year and to accommodate all after-school program requests. That's a big one. So I know Marty Kaminsky is out there listening to us right now. I hope we're going to be able to support the GO program in ways that we haven't been able to support it in the past through our transportation. So they're going to be doing a lot of practice runs on September the 4th. If you want to ride a bus on the 4th or on another day, please, he's open to having us ride the bus like we did last year. But I just wanted to recognize Mr. Ellis and his staff for the work they did this summer to create some efficiencies and also to help do the things we need to happen for our young people. I, along with other members on the team, have had a chance to sit down with our new teachers. The new teacher orientation has been taking place this week, and I don't know the exact number, but we're up to around 60 new teachers. Not all at the high school, but a lot of them from the high school, but 60 new teachers. And I'll tell you, I've done these opening ceremonies with new teachers for many years now. And this is the best I've ever been a part of. The energy, my presentation was cut short. We stopped and we had a conversation. The questions and the level of conversation that we had with those 60 individuals who are new to our organization, who have done their homework, who were excited about being here, the opportunity to be a part of something big was powerful. Man, it was fun. And I think Mr. Trumbull and Mr. Landau will say the same from their experiences with the new folks and the new energy that's coming in. But I had one of the new teachers come up to me and thank us for the diversity that was amongst the group. We have racial diversity, we have age diversity. So this person recognized that and wanted to say thank you for allowing those different perspectives to come into the organization at this time. So just wanted to let the board know that that's happening, and it's been happening, and we're excited about it. And finally, you've approved this individual in your in the consent agenda. There's been another new person coming to join the team. I'll take us back to last spring, and we hosted the state, I want to make sure I get this title right, the State Music Festival, All-Star Music Festival here. An outstanding event, hundreds of folks from all over the state. And when giving my opening remarks, I remarked that we had some of the best and brightest talent in the state in our facility. And I wasn't just talking about the students. The adults who put that performance and that opportunity together for young people were all-stars also. And I remember joking with this certain individual, there's a place for you in our organization if you wanted to be a part of excellence. And quite frankly, I guess he took me seriously. But anyway, as we've been looking for this director of fine and performing arts to grow and build the best program in the state, we've attracted some impressive individuals wanting to be a part of that. And I'm happy to present to you Mr. David Brown, who's coming to us from FM. I like that. FM. Leaving a position where he was a coordinator of district-wide fine and performing arts programs, coming to us and excited about building an outstanding and excellent program. I'll just read to you some of the things people have said about him. Because we called and checked up on him because we were like, is this too good to be true? That this superstar will want to be in an organization? So we called a lot of folks, and people are saying, I quote, he's super, he's amazing. He's going to leave us? But this one resonated with me. He's involved everyone in our fine arts programs, from the fine arts majors, to the jocks, to the students with special needs, the students from various cultures. He's the man. So I'm happy to introduce to you and welcome into our organization our Director of Fine and Performing Arts, Mr. David Brown. You stand up and wave to our board. And that's all I have tonight, Ms. James.
Sorry.
Well, Sean just took my iPad, which, now I don't know what I'm going to do without it. But yeah, exactly. But actually, it's almost out of power. But anyway, Dr. Brown, just
Secondary update.
no, I got it. Secondary update.
And you need to charge that guy. I got to charge this.
Yeah, it shows actually.
Little white cable.
Judy Maxwell needs to talk to me for a second. Can we have people talk amongst themselves while we do this?
Why don't people get ready for the next?
Yeah, we need to accept.
Right. If we're getting ready for the secondary update, that'll be fine. loaded and ready to go. And I'm sure, Mr. Powers, that you know the students to your right. And it's always good that the students are here to hear about our administrators talk to the board. So, and Jarrett, we're very excited to hear about really, I think you're going to talk about a lot about what's going on at the high school. Certainly a reorganization plan that really started at the top of the district and moving as we are throughout the district. And it was critical, I think, in your, as you took a look, once you became the principal at Ithaca High Schools, how do we make Ithaca High School better? How do we do what we do better, if that's a word? How do we become the excellent high school that I went to, that thousands of folks in this community have gone through over the years, and that's what you're going to talk about, I guess, Jarrett, right?
Sure. As
we move into this new school year.
Yes, sir. So thank you for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to talk with you this evening about Ithaca High School and the trajectory that we're headed on for the 2012-2013 school year. There's a lot of new things and exciting things that are happening in the building. There's a lot of good news to kind of report, and there is some dissonance that's out there in the community that I want to clear up, right? So that's kind of where we're headed. One of the things I want to talk about first is the work that we did this summer. So this summer, through a Learning and Innovation grant that Dr. Brown afforded our school, we were able to invite our staff to come in during the summer to really help us kind of talk about a lot of the structural changes administratively inside the high school, but also to kind of look at a lot of the new legislation that's impacting our teachers. So teachers came in on a voluntary basis. We have 118 teachers at the high school, and 85 of them showed up on a summer vacation to kind of participate in this work with us. And we covered a range of topics I'll go into a little bit with all of you. The first one being DASA, right, and the Dignity for All Students Act and legislation, and how we'll be approaching that as a high school. What does it mean in terms of reporting? What does it mean in terms of adult accountability for reporting and making sure that things flow when investigation is needed or when an incident of bullying takes place inside the school? And kind of connected to that is a concern that exists around safety, right? And how do we keep our kids safe? Not just safe from bullying, but safe from outside threats, safe from a larger kind of continuum. So contrary to rumors, security has not been cut, right, at the high school. That's a bit of a misnomer and a bit of an interplay in terms of words, right? So 5 months ago, you eliminated the Office of Curriculum and Instruction. It doesn't mean you stop doing curriculum and instruction. It means that you're approaching the way we look at it differently. So we're approaching the way we look at security at the high school differently. One of the ways in which we kind of look to do that is by actually upgrading the safeties from aide positions to teacher assistant positions. Teacher assistant positions come with a different degree of certification, right, as required by the state of New York. So teaching assistants are considered part of the teaching staff. They are tenure eligible positions, and they allow you to have a greater supervisory capacity on the campus. So you can supervise the study hall, you can supervise H courtyard, you can supervise activities far more independently and with a greater ability to kind of work and actually support students. At the same time, some of the things that we were encountering was, students either not going to class because the class was overcrowded and they didn't necessarily feel like they belonged there, or they were in a classroom situation where a response might have been, you have to leave this class, right, because you're not behaving appropriately or something along those lines. The idea is with teaching assistants, we can use our resources differently and actually bring adults into the classrooms to support students, right? So if you have a student who is struggling, and because they're struggling behaviorally, right, they're continuously being sent out of class and being sent in school and being involved in this consistent cycle, if we were able to kind of target our resources and say, let's put a teaching assistant in that classroom for 2 or 3 weeks to kind of help the student learn de-escalation strategies, learn coping strategies, maybe get him help with note-taking or reading strategies, that might be more beneficial. Keep that student engaged in class longer and actually prevent that student from losing more class time. Additionally, we had 6 safety aides, and we are in the process of hiring 8 teaching assistants. So there's actually more people with a greater degree of supervisory capacity who are able to work and engage our students differently. So I consider it more of a security upgrade than a security cut. So that's one of the conditions that we're looking at. Also, we're in early conversations with the board and the community about bringing a school resource officer to campus. We know we have some real issues as it relates to drug use. We held a series of informational workshops throughout the year. We did a forum with the Cuban Addiction Recovery Board. We did another forum at BJM earlier where we really were addressing the increase that we see in drugs that are in our school. We know that bath salts, right, could possibly be present, right, or could be some sort of laced narcotic. We're not quite sure what the students were taking. We know that there's access. We know it's pretty easy. And we know that when students are high and they're in classrooms, that's not a safe condition, right? So we need to kind of approach this somewhat differently. Also, we want our students to kind of view the law enforcement in our community as someone who they can partner with and trust and build solid relationships with, because a lot of the incidents that we're facing come from the internet, come from Facebook, come from Twitter feeds. And as you know, that's live and real now, and you can update and hit refresh, and all of a sudden the information is out there. That's a huge amount of work, and a lot of it does not occur inside the actual school day. It occurs at 2 o'clock in the morning when you hit refresh on your Facebook page, and then we walk into it not really knowing what's going on. So there's a missing link in our actual safety plan between what the community agencies know and what we know. And the hope is to kind of provide a nexus between the two of those, plus build the teaching assistant capacity and to help keep us more safe inside of school. So we kind of talked a little bit about that in conjunction with DASA to kind of work to improve students' feelings of safety and belonging inside the school. At the same time, we spent a fair amount of time working with Mr. Moon, with Adam Kuzecki, with our master educator positions at the high school, with Bob Van Kuren's office about APPR and how we're going to roll it out and what our standards are going to be and what our look-fors are. And we really started to work with our teachers. We had 3 trainings, 3 Fridays in a row that they could pick one to go to really kind of talk about what it means to be observed in this new process. What's new, what's different, how's an SLO different from a goal? How can we kind of make this work at Ithaca High School to improve student learning outcomes? We spent a good amount of time partnering with Judy Hoffman, looking at concussions, looking at how we can modify instruction to support students with concussions, also looking at how we can help hold kids accountable for the work that they need to complete in order to demonstrate mastery of the topic. So we kind of built a framework and some protocols for that. We spent a good amount of time looking at attendance, right? And we passed a board regulation, right, as it relates to class cutting. And so we spent some time working with our teachers, walking through different scenarios, what it would look like, and creating some protocols and some norms around how we'd actually implement that regulation come in the fall. We had positive behavior intervention systems. We partnered with Linda Brown through OCM BOCES to again look at some of our discipline data, to look at where our students are acting out, why they're acting out, what are the conditions that are underlying that, and kind of look at our own school culture and climate and figure out what are the things that we need to change and kind of build a team of educators in the building who are committed to kind of looking at this data over a longitudinal period of time, giving us recommendations about ways we can engage kids better, ways we can keep them on track. So that's another issue that we examined in this workshop. RTI, we looked at kind of where we are at the high school. It's hard to do at the high school level. So we needed to kind of sync ourselves and create functional teams that are really going to work to the benefits of kids. And you'll see tonight some data that speaks to some of the work that we've been doing around RTI and also around academic intervention services. So it was a pretty nice summer, a chance to interact with staff, to really engage them in some of the work, and it made a substantive difference for us to kind of start the school year. Starting the school year, we had some capital projects that we went through this summer. We redesigned the quad. So the quad up there has now handicap accessible. Instead of staircases, there are now ramps, so students can freely use the quad, and it can become far more of a social space during lunch periods and places to kind of gather for class barbecues and picnics and things along those lines. We redesigned, or reimagined, I like to say, the World Language Lab. And so the World Language Lab is really going to bring us into the 21st century. This room rivals what most colleges have in terms of resources. There's basically Macs at every single station for about 30 students with headphones and software that's tied to our textbooks. But also we are working with our World Language Department to kind of help our heritage speakers of languages. So if you're a heritage speaker of Spanish, you might be far more accelerated, right, than our curriculum can provide for it. We can then do pacing and chunking of assignments differently. This will allow us to really kind of also explore other languages outside the traditional ones that we offer at the high school, so we're excited about that. And then we looked at H Courtyard and said, you know, what are our students needing to be engaged, to do the work that we're asking them to do? So we outfitted the space with iPads, and we are going to assign some supervision to it to keep the iPad safe. But what we're really trying to do is give students a chance to connect, right? You need to fix a Word document, so you're going to download from your email before you go to class. Or you need to send an assignment to a teacher, or there's a friend who's absent and you want to get them a homework assignment. Or you want to go do some research on your lunch period about a topic you learned about in class and bring it to the next class the next day. It's more of an intellectual space than just kind of a traditional hangout, and it's a chance for our students to really kind of engage in the schoolwork that we're offering them. So we're excited about that. All this kind of builds to some results that I want to share with you about what all this means and how does it play out in our actual building and how did it play out during the previous school year. So some basic highlights, and I'll go into detail on each one, but just so you can kind of see some growth areas. In English, we had 100% cohort participation on our ELA Regents exam. So that was big for us, to have 100% of our kids there. That took a tremendous amount of coordination by a number of educators in our building to make sure that tests got to students who were in hospitals, who were in juvenile detention centers, who were at home sick. We made sure that the tests got to them or proctored correctly. And our scores as a result went from 51% of our students scoring 85 or higher in the regions to 63% of our students scoring 85 or higher in the regions. So not only did we test every kid, but we actually improved at the mastery level by 12%. So we were pretty pleased with that game. In Algebra 1, we had a 77% passage rate to a 78% passage rate overall. And I'll talk about why it's significant a little bit later on. But at the mastery level in Algebra 1, we went from 14% scoring 85 or higher to 17% of our kids scoring 85 or higher. In Geometry, we went from 41% of our students scoring 85 or higher to 48% of our students scoring 85 or higher. In Algebra 2, we went from a 70% passage rate overall to a 74% passage rate overall. In Science, this is where we had the biggest gains. Chemistry went from 72% passage to 94% passage on the Regents exam. Earth Science went from 64% passage to 72%. And in Physics, we went from 68 passing to 83% of our students passing. These are huge gains in the sciences. And in Social Studies, we gained points. We went up by 3 points passing on the Global Studies Regents exam and 2 points passing on the U.S. History Regents exam. So we're pleased about that. But there's still more work to do, and I'll go into that a little bit more in depth. So where's my English? Well, we'll go to math first. So when you look at what we did in math, I really want to talk about the Regents integrated algebra, because those numbers kind of speak to some of the work that we have going on at the high school. When our 8th graders came in to us, right, and they turned to 9th graders, about 140 of them were off grade level. In other words, they had failed the 8th grade math assessment. In 1 year, we were able to reduce that number by 70. So that to us took real work. There's still 70 that didn't make it, and we're still working on it. But to move 70 kids in a year was pretty substantial work. What we found, though, at the end of June was that our Regents passage rate was lower, right? And I wasn't going to come to you with a lower Regents passage rate. So we met with our math teachers, and we identified students who failed, and we called every home. And we said, we will be open this summer for you. We don't have a formal summer school program, but we will be here. We will create a summer math academy for you. We will arrange busing for you, and we will provide you tutoring every day leading up to this Regents exam. So we had 18 students take us up on the offer, which was really kind of exciting. They voluntarily came in, no compulsion, you know, there was a bus for them. We had teachers come in, and out of the 18 students who came, we had 12 of them pass and passed decisively. So we were really kind of excited about what that did. What that meant was that our passage rate moved from 74% to 78%. So we kind of thought creatively, did a little bit of out-of-the-box thinking, and made some real gains for our students there. In English, if we think back to a few years ago, we were a city school for ELA. We have some major issues that we need to continue to work on, but the mastery level of achievement is growing, and growing at more than what is a statistical anomaly. Right, 12% is a big gain for our students. So a lot of that work goes to target intervention with their ESL population. We had a teacher work kind of exclusively doing test prep with the ESL population and making sure they were getting the skills and the competencies that they needed to move forward. And we really spent some time doing targeted intervention work before and after school and during the school day. So we were proud and pleased with those results. Social studies, we made gains in global history, and as you know, global history is probably the biggest single barrier, right, to graduation because it's a 2-year course. So you have to carry content for 2 consecutive years to take a Regents assessment. And our students made gain in each area that the test basically assesses for. And U.S. history and government remains a very highly passed rate. Science is where we saw the most gains. And this is what makes me the most excited because it speaks to the changes that we did in AIS. So in AIS, for science, we made it kind of a drop-in service model where students were identified based on test scores. We reached out to them and said, come, here's when we're available, here's what we can do for you, here's how we can support you. We also added extra lab time, right, in the cycle as part of the budget initiative, and that also supported. So students had more time in instruction and a different version of AIS. When you put those two together, you're looking at a 22 percentage point gain in chemistry passage rates. You're looking at pretty significant numbers, 8% gain in inner science, and I'm going to say what about 15% gain in physics. So we thought differently, we thought outside the box, we made some budget initiatives, and it paid off. So I wanted to say thank you because it's working. There's still some work to go, but I don't know if we can get you another 22-point gain in chemistry, right? That's kind of a one-shot thing because when you hit 94%, only 6% more to go. So we're really kind of excited about some of the work that we're starting to see there. And this also speaks a little bit, I think, to the scheduling question that you raised earlier as to why we don't have all these schedule changes going on. So we came to the board, I want to say it was back in April, and we said this is the FTE that we need to do the job that we're being asked to do. And it was based on student course requests. So you signed up, or someone signed up, let's say to take biology. And you made that course request, and we sent it home to your families, and we asked you to review the course requests. And you signed off, and your family signed off, and that's what you requested. So then we went in and built a schedule that had X number of kids signed up for biology. And we hired Y number of biology teachers. Now all of a sudden, if everyone says, well, I changed my mind over the summer, right? I really want to take chemistry. Well, I don't have that number of chemistry teachers, right? And if all of a sudden we get 10 or 15 kids who start moving, that creates different section numbers. It throws the whole schedule out of balance and doesn't really enable us to kind of focus our energies and our resources towards kind of creating the gains that we're looking at here this evening. So that's one of the reasons why. It's not that we want to deny you chemistry, but it's that you and your families told us you wanted biology. So I went and said, this is how many biology teachers I need. And I can't go back 4 days before school started and say, just kidding, I actually need this many chemistry teachers. So that's one of the reasons that exists for the change. So that...
Jared, just, if we can just interrupt a little bit, and just historically, scheduling the high school in August, September was, mayhem, can I use the word? Madhouse. Sure. And the history of Ithaca High School is that really it was, we would offer whatever the students desired, whatever, we certainly don't want to stand in the way of a student, well, frankly, me, back in the day, of what I wanted to take, when I wanted to take it.
Right.
So, are we, in order to, we're talking about moving numbers, obviously we have to move numbers because I think high school, if I'm not mistaken, is still a city high school? No? Yes? Are we off? Are we
we're off.
We're off, right. Just, you brought up Cindy, so I just wanted to make sure that that got out there. That, because that always is not publicized well, correct? We talked about Ithaca City School District being on Cindy status if Ithaca High School is a Cindy school. You know, are my choices being limited and restricted in order so Ithaca High School can meet numbers?
The choices that you made, no one forced you to make, right? You met with your school counselor, you met with your family, we sent them the course requests. If you elected to take chemistry in the spring, we will have a chemistry class for you in the fall. If you like to take biology in the spring, we're not going to have a chemistry class for you in the fall. That's the way the budgeting process works.
Right. And, you know, just as we look at numbers.
Oh, I just had a comment about the scheduling for this year. With the 3 levels of math or Algebra 2, I think they apply to geometry. Do they apply to Algebra 1 too? Well, I just thought that was an excellent idea of not just having the regions and then the honors, because a lot of kids are just in between those 2 levels, and there's a huge difference on your transcript from having honors versus a regions credit. So I was just wanting to comment that that's a really good idea, and I'm really glad that that change has been made.
And Jared, if you give me some sense of perspective, you know, you're talking about moving numbers, and in the case of certainly science, it's dramatic moves, you know, compared to other schools, like schools, other, you know, high-achieving schools. You know, how does that rank? Moving numbers, you know, I think I heard a few wows in the background behind you from other principals, other administrators within the district. I'm guessing that it's, I'm assuming that moving numbers like that is really unprecedented, and moving frankly from a 73 to a 78% move, that's actually a very huge move.
It's the work of our teachers, right? It's the work of our PLC process. It's giving teachers that time to kind of collaborate and talk about curriculum, talk about instruction, really look and be planful about, you know, interventions that we're offering. It was a team effort, and it really is starting to work, right? And so, you know.
Right, and you're talking about, well, having some inflexibility within what my choice in classes. I signed up for that, but then also I'm saying flexibility in getting help, or
a lot more flexibility in getting help. So we moved AIS to the core departments. So we have teachers now assigned to English, math, science, social studies, and world languages who are certificated teachers in those areas. Also, a lot of our teaching assistants that we hired are actually certificated teachers, because you have to have some college to kind of get a teaching assistant certification. So there's a lot more people in the building who can help support you and provide direct content instruction in the area that you're struggling with or that you want to excel in than there was before. So there's actually more opportunities. So if you signed up for honors chemistry and you're struggling in honors chemistry and we're not letting you go to Regents chemistry, we're going to provide support so you're successful in honors chemistry.
Well, I think that was a point I was hoping that could be made as we go through numbers, which can get, they are numbers, but anything else for Jared before he keeps going? And I won't stop you.
I'm good.
Go ahead, Jared.
I'm good. That's what I wanted to share, because it was good.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, we've heard the word budget a few times already, and I just want to reiterate that this is the result of a continuous improvement process that we're calling budget. We've been talking about this work for a year, and you see Mr. Howes and his team, how they built a budget around the school's needs. And now it's resulting in some significant achievement results. Not only are we changing numbers, we're changing a culture in a school. I mean, quite frankly, those first few months on the job, all I heard about was IHS, Cindy status, negativity, security, all those negative things. Even recently, I've heard who's going to be the principal next year. Things that are inappropriate when we're talking about excellence in a world-class school district. We have a team that's in place, that's stable, that's doing the work that needs to be done, doing all the right things, making child-centered decisions on everything from who's going to provide security to what kind of offerings we're going to provide after school. So we have a solid team in place in our flagship school, and now we're seeing results that are on par with some of the best high schools in the country. So thank you for the team and all the educators at Ithaca High School for not only changing student lives, but changing a culture at the same time. And those are both hard things to do.
Oh, there you go. Go ahead.
Just a comment.
Sure.
When we attended the executive session last week, when we had the DASA presentation, it occurred to some of us that I don't think we have appointed people for the extracurricular monitoring. And especially in your environment, a lot of the issues we're concerned about in DASA could easily take place in co-curricular activities, right, athletics, some things that may not seem building-centered, but certainly could lead to a blow-up in the hallway outside of English class at 9:30 in the morning. So I'm just letting you know that you will figure out how to manage that. But
And to clarify, Eldred, I don't believe you're talking about an executive session.
Correct.
It was probably the board development.
The board development meeting.
That was open to the public.
So he's talking about the retreat, the team retreat.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
yes, what did I say? Executive session?
Yeah, executive session.
Yeah.
Executive level retreat.
Yeah, we don't discuss DASA in executive.
Administrative.
The administrative retreat.
That thing at that place,
All right.
up that hill.
That specific time. Okay.
Other questions of Jared? Again, I can't believe he's going to get off that easy here.
No,
but,
great results.
You're almost back together. They're still pouring a little concrete at the high
They're still
school.
pouring a little concrete at the high school. We hope to have it done. We're optimistic. We're gonna be ready.
Going to be ready?
We're gonna be ready. The link crew was in today getting trained, working, kind of norming themselves as a team, getting ready for the 9th graders coming in on Thursday. They were excited. They were energized. We're ready to go.
And of course, Seth always makes fun of me for bringing up football, but I never do that. But I will mention that the first home game for the varsity is this Friday, before the school begins, and it is against Ithaca's longtime rival Vestal, which used to be quite the game. So we look forward to seeing the kids back on the football field. There's certainly soccer, performing arts is starting up, and so we look forward to another school year. So game time is 7 o'clock under the lights on a 90-degree day. It's always interesting to see how in shape is everybody. So I'm killing time, Dr. Brown, while we're getting tuned up here. We're gonna, if we are done with the high school team, we're gonna go on to game-based learning, which isn't anything I know about.
I'm going to invite your friends to the table.
So that's right, and that's why we're killing time talking about a game, live on the field, but we're talking about game-based learning within the classroom, Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Are we ready? Well, we will be in a minute.
We will be in just a second. Oh, yeah, here we go. There we go. Thank you for allowing us this time to share with you. This is an informational item. We wish to share with you some of the progressive work and innovations that we're working on in the district, and also some results that we're seeing from some of those pilot projects. And I'll start, this is about game-based learning, but I'll start with this formula. This is a formula that you'll see more of, and our staff will see more of over the coming weeks and years. It's one that, for the second 2 days of the Summer PDI Institute, we had 200 plus educators struggling with, because we were asked whether or not this formula would change our lives. And some people said yes, some people said no. Like most educators, some of them didn't have an opinion, just kept their hands down. But after talking about this for 2 days, and then over the last several weeks, we're realizing that this can change the way we think about the work that we do. The K stands for knowledge, the I stands for information, and the T stands for thinking. And what it's saying is that to acquire new knowledge, one must have information, but must also interact with that information in a way that's requiring deep thinking. You can't have knowledge with just information. The presenter went through that often. We've had many educators and other folks who've said that you can just get knowledge from just getting new information. That's not true. The thinking skills that we've been talking about for a year and a half now, we're thinking and talking about at a different level, and even more so going forward. So with this formula leading the conversation for us, we want to share with you what's happening at Bell Sherman and some other places in the district when we think about game-based learning. with this formula, we know that master educators have been able to impart knowledge and help young people acquire knowledge using many, many tools. Tools like this one, tools like the laptop, and I will mention the book, like the book, like the book, like the laptop. Like last week at our administrative retreat, we used Legos to build new knowledge. We broke down, but we took apart the various structures and plans that we have as an organization, and we recreated them using Legos. An opportunity for us to use manipulatives to build and acquire new knowledge. And you also have the World Wide Web, which I think we all know that that's a place where there's much information, but when thinking about that information and analyzing and synthesizing it, it can allow one to create new knowledge. So working from that formula, what other tools can we put in place that will motivate, stimulate, and engage young people? And I've been sharing several images, and I shared these two images with our new teachers on Monday. And this, I won't bore you again, because you've seen the Mario Brothers pictures. You've heard me talk about how I was a world champion and how that game changed my life. But that game and that game then in the 80s, early 90s, is very different from the games our young people are engaging with today. And you have a picture here. I've taken Halo down. Now I'm showing the sim game. So sim, in the sim games, we all know that those games are customized, they're adaptive, they require failure in order for young people to learn how to achieve. They do all the things that we say we embrace in our teaching and learning framework as far as high quality instruction and thinking. Games can do that, and they've been proven to do that. How do games teach? If you type in "how do games teach" in Google, you'll get back tons of research that supports it, tons of articles, books, etc. And I did my own version of a word. I just pulled the words down from the first 3 valid articles that spoke to how games are helping young people learn and how it's that innovation in education right now. Innovation in education right now. You'll see words up there that are embedded in our teaching and learning framework. Everything from inquiry to relevance to captivation to engagement, all the words that we speak about that I'm hoping aren't still jargon, but are words that we understand and we embrace and we want to be embedded in all of our classrooms. So those are words that people are speaking or using when they refer to games and game-based learning. Being a new principal, and I think because he was new, he said yes, but he's also, he has some experiences dealing with some of these innovations around technology tools and how they can be used in classrooms to increase teaching and learning. We went to Mr. Bryman last year in hoping that he would want to implement a pilot program in his building, and hoping that he was going to see some results. So I'm going to turn this over to you, Mr. Bryman, because I know you have some things you wish to share about what's happened in your building over the last 6 months.
Thanks for letting me speak about game-based learning. So we did a pilot that started on March 3rd with 136 students in 11 classrooms. Initially, we prioritized with rooms with ESOL and special ed groupings, but we also focused on pre-K students, early childhood students, accelerated students, and we also pushed the program into our after-school program as well. What we like about Imagine Learning, I think the biggest thing is that it wasn't a program for just one student group. It's a program for all students. Another really powerful piece of the program is it provides first language support that's direct, and it can do it in 14 different languages. And I was amazed when I walked into a pre-K classroom and I was able to see a student being instructed in Mandarin Chinese. That was an impressive moment for me observing the program. Interactive literature, it's visual. There's sound included. There's lots of graphics, making learning relevant and meaningful. It's in context. A lot of the context is science and social studies, so it's the added effect of the students are learning how to read, but they're also learning about content as well, which is also a shift in the Common Core standards. Okay. This slide here shows, it's an example of what a student would see on academic language. Students they would see the word, they'd hear the word, they'd see a video of the word. For example, they may see a video clip of celebration. As you can see, it's set up as a graphic organizer, which is a way that the student can frame the information that they see, as well as transfer it to other situations. And it gives our student multiple ways and multiple opportunities to understand the word. The fluency work in the program is very powerful too. The students have headphones, they have headphones, and they have a microphone. And first, the program would read the story to them, then they would read it into the microphone, and then the program would read it back to them. And there's a part to the program where they listen to what the reading is, and then decide whether they want to re-record, which is great for them to self-assess their fluency levels by themselves. And you can see in this slide that there's content. This is there's science content here, and again, it links to the Common Core to provide access to grade level content to all students. It makes it accessible, basically. State testing results. I didn't want to show a lot of slides about data, so I thought what I would do is highlight 3 different students. And 2 of the students are in Nancy Thompson's classroom right here. AJ and EJ are ESOL students. AJ is, in the beginning of the year, he wasn't able to participate in whole class discussions. He was very quiet. By the end of the year, he was able to lead presentations. The results there show a jump that he had in the state ESOL accountability measure. EJ was also an ESL student. He's a student who he didn't want to be corrected or redirected. So this program provided direct feedback for what he knew, what he didn't know, and it made him feel comfortable because it was just him. It was giving him that feedback, and it wasn't embarrassing in a large setting. TJ is a 4th grade student, and last year he scored a 2 on the ELA state assessment, and this year he was proficient. EJ is TJ, too many letters. TJ, he's really bright, he has a lot of energy, and Imagine Learning was something that was able to focus him through listening, through seeing, through interaction. Another great part of the program is, this is a piece that we can send home. This is also a piece that we use in the classroom. It can be sent home in the native language, and we got some great positive feedback from a family who was excited that they received a graphic organizer in Arabic. And it was a great home language connection for us to build strong relationships about learning with families. Teachers will also use these in the classrooms to connect, and this is a graphic organizer, a high yield strategy that they can transfer to other reading passages. Results. One of the only grade level that we did a full grade level implementation was in our 5th grade. And our 5th grade ELA results had the highest passing rate in ICSD. And we're proud of that. This program, we had multiple teachers collaborating. We had 1 teaching assistant cycling students in. We used it in a centers type approach where teachers were providing direct instruction and then students would go to it as a resource. And final thoughts. There's a lot of great things about the program, even the assessment. The assessment is game-based. All students are given a pre-assessment, and it's a game. They think they're playing a game, but it's assessing where the starting point is for the students. It's highly engaging with its graphics, with its sounds, with its singing, with its characters. It targets skills that promote Common Core. It targets basic reading skills, which are the foundation for academic success, and it's information-based. And the games provide information that build knowledge in content areas such as science and social studies. And of course, native language support is huge. It's something that, it's amazing to see students being instructed in Mandarin, Chinese, Arabic, and 13 different languages.
And again, we're constantly looking for tools to allow us to meet the needs of our young people. This is a tool that we piloted last year, 6 months or so, and we're seeing some positive results already. And I'm hoping Nancy's going to share a little bit about what she thought about it too, because I've been in the classroom a few times. But just some tools for master educators to have in their portfolio to use with young people, and quite frankly, having the best results in 5th grade in the district was an eye-opener for us when we looked at our data. And that's when we thought this may be an item we wish to share with the board to highlight some of the innovations in the work.
So I'm just going to share an anecdote. Last year I taught second grade, and my class was ESL clustered. I had 6 out of 18 students, 6 were beginners who just came to the United States and did not speak English. And one day I was watching one of those beginning students playing on the Imagine Learning, and he saw a mouth and saw the word, and he heard the word, and mouth was showing him how to say it, like you would do with a young child, saying, mama, say mama. So he was getting that, all those different benefits, seeing it, hearing it, seeing the mouth. At the same time, I looked over and I saw another student, and I thought, uh-oh, it looks like she's on some kind of download terms and conditions. The font was so small, there was so much text, so I went over to check, and she was reading about westward expansion, and I thought, this is great. They're both getting exactly what they need, and you know, she's being challenged, and he's getting that language support that he needs to learn to speak English.
And how often are your young people on the program per day? 30 minutes, 40 minutes a day?
It depended on the students. Some were on for 30 minutes, some were on for 20 minutes, depending on their need, but my whole class participated. And it also, there were a few students who were tardy in the beginning of the year, but it solved that problem because I said whoever gets there first can go on Imagine Learning.
Go ahead, Seth.
Can you talk a little bit about how you incorporated this tool into kind of your everyday teaching, what you normally did, and how this transition back in March flowed as far as making it easier?
How to make it work during the day?
Well, just you weren't always using this type of game-based learning, and then at some point you started. How did incorporating it into what you normally did?
I offered it first thing in the morning before school, technically starts at 8 o'clock, but kids are there at 7:40. And the kids who come on the bus are always there, so they could start right away. And then I told the other kids who sometimes came late, if you got there early, whoever gets there first can start. So it was always being used first thing in the morning. And then we had different groups because some of the students were ESL and they would be pulled out, so then there were fewer kids in the classroom. Some kids could use Imagine Learning while I worked with others. So it enabled me to work with a smaller group. And then during the day, as students finished their assigned work, they could go work on Imagine Learning. So it was being used all day long while we worked with other groups at different levels.
Were you able to tie it to your direct instruction?
I think it was tied to each student more than tied to like the whole class's instruction, but you do get reports that tell you what the students' needs are and where they're being successful, so you can use that for information for your instruction. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How tedious is keeping track of 20 to 22 kids on this? I mean, do you every night download where they started? And
it's great. I just had a whiteboard with their names, and they would come over and just make a tick next to their name if they had used it that day, and they signed in. They each had their own code, and they signed in, and it automatically started up where they had left off. I didn't have to do that. And the kids who were recording themselves, I could go on and listen to their recordings, which sometimes were funny because they would talk to themselves, oh, I have to do that again? So it's good. And, the program is set up to have them do it independently.
Okay, so if it's within independence and it's like a station in a room, do you use it for any small group, or is it totally independent and you?
Well, a small group can go over there, but they don't have to all be doing the same thing.
No, but
each
like
child
say,
is doing a different
yeah,
thing.
that you get back, they're all, on such and such, all over the place. Would you ever pull a child
to address their needs that you...
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Because the report would say they're having trouble with this sound. And it's also really useful if you're going to an RTI meeting and you want to show their progress or their lack of progress and say, oh, look, this is an area that they really need more help. So you get a lot of information in the reports.
Okay, the next question. How many computers are you working with in the room?
Last year we were using 4, and sometimes 5 computers.
So everybody who was doing it in the 5th grade had 4 or 5? Or
Well, every
That was
classroom didn't have the
that
same
was a
number.
different setup. We actually had, in 5th grade, we had one central location where kids would go, and there was a teaching assistant who would work with them.
Oh, okay.
In Nancy's room, we pushed more in on the computers.
Okay.
And also, my classroom is an ESL classroom, and the students in the psych program, the after-school program, would come back at the end of the day with support and use it again. So they get a double dose after school.
Some of the good things about the data, we were able to figure out commonalities between some of our ESL students, like middle sounds and words. Those are some of the discussions we've had, and how to focus teaching around middle sounds for our ESL students.
Did you find that the program was good for teaching phonics and?
Oh, absolutely. And I found, you know, some languages, the sounds are so different that you need so many repetitions of someone, you know, looking right at you. I mean, you know, when I'm trying to learn another language, how do you say it? And say it again, I'm gonna watch. And so they get that on Imagine Learning because it doesn't just move them on until they're successful. And like you were talking about failure, that one student who, I won't say his name, but he really did hate to be corrected. But when the computer said, you know, do that again.
You didn't say it correct.
No problem. And
so they're asked to pronounce and then they're told.
Plus they see the mouth and how the mouth moves. That's for the very beginners who are learning this alphabet and the sounds.
Something I don't want to have lost here. I'm hearing Dan say the word computers, plural. My first month on the job, during the transition period, people spoke to how there were no machines and no technology that Belsham. And Dan came to me and he spoke to it early on, how there was no technology tools in the school, period. I'm happy to hear now of not only having the tools there, but how you're using the tools and the software tools that go along with that hardware to enhance teaching and learning. And it's because teachers and educators there are embracing it and asking for it, more so than it being some top-down initiative of some sort. Although there should have been stuff there before. For a long time there wasn't, but now in just a year and a half, they have multiple access, much access to this tool.
Good. Within the first couple of slides, a couple of things occurred to me. Boy, that's a great way to get students who may not be in classrooms where they see a lot of diversity to even experience it in print. I mean, I know that's a Bell Sherman issue, given that it's the United Nations of our elementary school. And it was also just as clear that, and you mentioned several times, that it clears language barriers. Is there anything about the program, or can it be tweaked to help deal with some class issues that may, well, they just frankly surface in this district because we have so many students from different classes, regardless of ethnicity?
Well, the text, it's, I guess maybe I don't understand your question. Is it in terms of the
you mean access?
More images and situations. Right, so you showed little brown children. You're dealing with different languages. Do any of the experiences happen on a farm? Or do any of the experience happen in an urban area? Is there something the software provides, the platform provides, to have kids just almost absorb different class and geographic-based experiences without them even realizing that they're going there?
I see what you mean now. Yes, and I think that often students who struggle have a lack of world experience, and that's something that the program does provide. They get to virtually see other places and other people that they may not, I mean, certainly kids who have never been to Cass Park. It's shocking, but true. And so through this program, virtually they can experience many more things and gain more knowledge about the world.
Tonight was intended just to share with you some highlights of what we've seen and some slides. We're working on having apps installed on our iPads and also getting you access to the program so that you can play. I'm planning on having my daughter, I'm understanding there are 1-year-old and 2-year-olds working on the program. And I'm also learning that the program has recently come out with a dual language platform. So now in Spanish, you want to learn English. Am I getting that correct? And so this is a way for young people who want to have early literacy in another language, get that other language, even if they're reading on grade level or have maxed out on the level that are embedded in the program. So we're going to get you access to the program and have an opportunity for you to play and explore it as well.
I just have one more.
Go ahead.
Is there the optimum level for each grade?
I believe it goes up to 7th grade.
It does.
So you would have access as a classroom teacher all the way up to 7th grade reading level or whatever?
Yes, when they play the very first time they go to Imagine Island, that assessment places them at a level which might be like a pre-K level
Okay.
or higher. So they're placed. And if you notice that you think it might not be quite right, you can call them, they'll change it, but it's pretty accurate.
For working with extending the learning or for accelerating it for our students, we can raise it up to higher levels.
Okay.
Just
Good.
by working with Imagine Learning to challenge our students.
Good.
I guess really two questions, as much for you as for them. So this works, that platform works on an iPad, not on a computer?
Not yet. It's right now working on a computer, but there's an app that allows you to interact with some of the games at a basic level, just for demonstration.
Okay, so I was going to ask, where are you headed with one-to-one at Bell Sherman? You know, which classrooms are going to have that, and are they going to be able to use this platform on the iPads?
We're in conversations right now about what. There were two different issues. The one-to-one implementation would look like at any of our schools or in multiple schools, and then what kind of tools will we be using if going to a one-to-one. Again, we won't just put devices in the kids' hands just to put devices there. Doing this, and once this program goes web-based and it can be 24/7, then that's another reason to go to more of a one-to-one device implementation in this district.
Okay. And we think that software developer is moving in that direction?
I've been assured that they are. Again, we only partner with folks who are looking to innovate and expand with us, and this particular venture, and a few others are those kind of places that move. Great.
Yeah, since we mentioned this, and this was kind of a pilot program, I guess from the board's point of view, this seems to be a good tool to provide to our teachers to help our students learn fast. But of course, it involves a certain amount of money spent, on a particular product. And I know we piloted this one. That there are certainly competitors who have similar software out there, and just so we're thinking, even though we piloted this, we need to make a wise decision in terms of, and this could be the best one for our needs, but just that we explore. And I don't know if Dan had opportunities like that, but that's something, as a board decision going forward, if this is, the direction we want to go, we certainly need to be thorough in examining it
and also looking at I'm trying to discern the preferred model. Dan just talked about a lab setup where the kids went there, or computer-based within the classrooms. I'm assuming within the classroom is it better?
I think it is better in the classroom, yeah. The only reason we did the 5th grade grouping is because we had a teaching assistant who was working with both classes, doing literature groups and other reading groups. But pushing in the classroom is a better idea. And to answer Seth's question, I've looked at some other programs, but I haven't seen the language piece. I think that might be one of the strongest features of this program. 13, 14 different languages. I haven't seen them together, and I don't know if.
And I know Mr. Moon has, and I have. We looked at multiple programs that do similar things. But when deciding what we want to have accomplished first, this one is meeting our needs best, and actually has the greatest potential from my perspective to grow into future needs. And I may have said it differently or incorrectly earlier. A young person can learn Spanish while operating in the English version. Now, we've talked about having all of our young people be fluent in the second language. That can now start in kindergarten using the licenses that we have. So as we talk about what that would look like, we have a tool that will be engaging potentially 24/7, beginning in kindergarten, that's working the other way. So this program is the only one I know of that's doing that, and that's a need that we've identified, and we found a product that's moving in that direction.
Just one last thing, since we're talking I had a chance to go to dance school and watch this in action, and I just want to be clear, and we've talked a lot about languages, and everyone knows I'm bilingual from my recent trip.
He said that.
But I did want to point out that even though we're focused and we've spoken a lot about language, this is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is not a ESOL targeted special program. This applies to kids who speak a single language, and there's learning benefits alone there, right? Is that?
That's
okay?
correct. That's correct. It's for all our students.
All students.
Yeah, I think I was highlighting something that was different about this program than other game-based learning programs.
But the point being that if you do want to read about the westward expansion, essentially almost at an adult level, you can. You have that ability to do that for a part of the day.
And I wanted my whole class to participate, so I got to see all those different levels in action, and the kids all loved it.
But still, we would certainly be concerned about access of all 8 elementary schools, and computers in every classroom, or certainly have access to an equal opportunity to take advantage of it, right?
We're doing the analysis now, and again, we're going back to building a budget. We have software programs in place right now that aren't seeing those kind of results. So do we continue with those, or do we shift in this model? There are other places that we can pass efficiencies by going this route. I also know that there's ways to structure the pricing for a program like this, which would allow you to own it in a few years, as opposed to paying the annual fees. So as we think about our continuous improvement efforts, and if we see this is something that's producing results and engaging and meeting the needs of our framework for quality learning, we can allocate resources.
Right, as we experiment in the district with one-to-one, initiatives perhaps in a classroom in Cuda Heights and Enfield, or but what is and game-based learning, what is the final direction, at least for a short period of time before all the technology changes, and that's obsolete. But right, I mean, when we finally make a decision, okay, this is the direction we're going to go, and these are the resources that that it's going to take, and at least this is what we're going to run with for a while. Is that within the next year? Are we looking?
Yeah, and that's going to be the conversation we'll have with the board going forward. We're going to come back with a recognition about how to expand on this pilot program because of the results we're seeing and some of the things we're hearing from teachers and students. What that looks like, and we need to get staff, because there was a lot of staff buy-in before we rolled this out at Bell Sherman, so we're talking with staff now about how this will be embedded in our literacy framework. If you read the literacy framework, it speaks to this as the game-based learning piece, or this kind of a tool or station work happening as part of that diet for instruction. So we're having those conversations right now about what would that piece of the framework look like. And there are a lot of folks who are saying that this is what it should look like as part of that piece of the framework. So we're still at early stages. Again, we've been going at this for 6 months or so now. And I would say before shooting a cannonball, you shoot little bullets first. And that's what we've been attempting to do in order before we do something that's more skilled. Yeah.
Just a quick question about the test scores that you showed. Was that the what was the exam?
The 3 students?
Yes.
2 were NISA which is the ESOL testing to find out what level the students are progressing. And then the one on the right was the state. We put it all together just to make it kind of more seamless.
Right. Same exam, same age group exam, same.
The 2 on the left were same age, same exam. The one on the right, I was highlighting non-ESOL measure.
So just my word of caution that sometimes some of these gains I think we see are just because young folks also mature for a year. Right, and so we would hope that their reading would improve. And so I'm not saying the program isn't effective. I'm saying that let's bear in mind that I have the good fortune of going to your classroom and watch it. So I'm impressed by the level of engagement I saw young folks do with this gaming. At the same point in time, we know that this is nothing more than a tool for good teachers. Right, and if we don't have excellent teachers in the room, then no matter what tool we put in front of them, it doesn't make a difference. And so what I was able to watch you do was differentiate your instruction in ways in which we hope that most classrooms can do. And even if that means in small groups of 3 or 4, it provided much more independent time to work with young folks to help develop their skills. And so the program is good for that way. But I just want us to, I think as Seth said, we have to be do our due diligence, if this is the kind of program and investment we're going to do, it does seem to have a high level of engagement for our young folks. And I've been fortunate to have some conversations with the vendor as well. And beyond the notions of class or of race or of gender, to be able to continually push them to make sure that what they're creating is reflecting the kind of world that we want our students to be living in. Or more importantly, to reflect a world that's not even ready for them, where it would be a better idea. But it'd be interesting to see where we go next with this.
Are we going to try to put it in other schools as a pilot?
Yeah, we're talking right now with BJM, and we're also thinking about doing things in the after-school program, not only in one school, but in multiple schools, because if we're using the after-school as an intervention period of sorts, this is a nice tool to have here. Mr. Landau will be happy to talk with you about that at some point.
But not right now, apparently. Any other questions?
I
was looking at Albert. Go ahead.
Funny story. So I was in a barbershop today, and one of the proprietors of the barbershop asked if they could have some of the software installed on their computer. Apparently, word has gotten around. So you always have these random kids sitting there as their adults are getting haircuts, and I wondered if they could do some of this inside the barbershop.
That's great. We also pushed into the summer. We saw an opportunity with summer school, and we also pushed it into summer school BJM. Many of our students were there also, and many of our teachers who have implemented it as well. And I'm glad to hear that students are excited about it. It's great.
Yeah. And the public library.
Okay.
And certainly, right, public library, et cetera. I mean, sort of community-based learning, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Anything else for our good folks so they can...
Thank you all for your work.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks.
And at Sean's insistence, well, no, sorry, at Sean's suggestion, we're going to take a look at some policies now, I believe, Dr. Brown, correct?
Yes, we are, but I'm not leaving that.
Yeah, I just, are we ready, Sean?
I will leave it as efficiently as I possibly can. We have been asked by a couple Montessori parents to review or at least discuss the district's policy for non-public school student participation in modified sports. As the public may know, or will inform the public, New York State education law prohibits non-public school students from participating in interscholastic sports, but has a caveat or leaves it up to discretion for a district to make the same determination for modified sports. Every 2 years, this board has, up to 2009, if I'm not mistaken, has made this decision. If you look in your Dropbox, there's 2 different number policies. You should be looking at the Microsoft Word document, not the PDF document, the one that says 1740 to 1742. NISBA, part of our review, and the reason why we're bringing it to you now is because we can actually get these policies done and out the door if we sort of approve them at some point in time. Originally, the district had one policy called 1743, which covered all this. NISBA's recommended we try to break it up a little bit. So, for example, a policy about relationship with non-public school students, a policy about homeschool students, and then a separate policy about charter school students to have some clarity around how we're making this operate. What we're really being asked to have some discussion about, and I'll give you why it's come to the board in a second. And the Dropbox doesn't give you 2 pages, but it'd be on the second page of policy 1740. Right after 1740, it's the second sentence. In addition, non-public school students will not be permitted to participate in modified sports or extracurricular activities. The reason why this came up was primarily around cross country, which my understanding is a non-cut sport, as we understand it, or a non-tryout sport, meaning that no students are turned away if they show up for cross country.
If you want to run,
we're going to let you run. I've had some conversations with our athletic department, both Danielle LaRouche and the cross-country coach, who both said that they support this particular idea, but understand if there are other considerations, then they obviously at the board, but they see no problem with non-cut sports, particularly for non-public school students. And not to muddle this would not apply to charter school students, and it would not apply to homeschool students. It would only apply to students that are in bona fide educational programs, so Montessori, Immaculate Conception, etc. Right?
And they're residents of our district.
And residents of our district, thank you as well, Brett. And so the idea amongst the committee, amongst the policy committee, we had 2 months of conversation about this committee and how best to proceed. The committee was split about whether or not the policy should be reviewed, and the reason why we're bringing it to the board is that at the end of the day, we felt this may not be a conversation that just the committee should decide, that the board should at least have a chance to weigh in on it in case we want to do anything. The 2 options in front of us, we either put a motion on the floor to change this, or we simply have a conversation and do nothing and the policy stands as is. That sort of seems to be, and if I mischaracterize anything, please, my 2 policy committee members, feel free to weigh in, Judy or Pat.
Just clarify for me, what is 1743?
1743 is about charter school students, but 1743 will no longer exist in the new policy.
You're replacing 1743
with 1741 to 1742.
Got it. Okay.
So 1743 will be deleted officially when we have our new updated policy book. And
so they're proposing this with the potential of one change.
What I'm suggesting is that if we want to change, then let's have that conversation now and we can start making the proposal. If we don't, then these policies are going to be coming back to you soon. I know some of you did not have a chance to thoroughly take a look at the policy. You only got in the Dropbox earlier today. So, and the reason why we're trying to push it today is that if we are going to let modified students participate, we probably should do that today to get them into fall sports if that's going to happen. And if we're not going to do that, then we should notify those parents as well. Either way.
Go ahead. I have a question.
Go ahead.
You used the word modified.
It can only be modified.
That was good, though. That was good. That was good.
It was good. Yeah. But you did say.
I did use the word modified student.
So help me understand what would make a new student whose family lives in the district non-modified.
We decided that we're having a separate relationship with charter schools as opposed to non-public schools.
What's the 2?
Right, so charter schools considered to be a public school, and a district unto itself.
Right.
We could take different action, but it would not, even if we passed this policy for non-public students, it would not apply to charter school students.
They don't have any children at the modified level anyway.
No.
Right.
Because we're talking high school.
All right.
Yeah.
And if we were going to entertain this again, the recommendation from our AD would be, if this isn't entertained, only again for non-cut sports, only for sports in which there is not a concern that ICSD students may have the chance of being pushed out.
We just had the discussion that was new to us about having no cut modified, finding a way. So I think this, adds something to that. We had letters last year, and we'll probably get them again this year, about certain kids being cut from modified. My strength or support is to have no cut modified all the way. I will vote against reopening this because I think if you choose Montessori, if you choose some other school, you're choosing it for a program there, and you can't have your cake and eat it too. Yes, we'd like to have some of our kids in a classroom with 8 or 9 kids. So could we put, it has to be reciprocal for me.
What's up?
So, I got what you said, and it sounds like you're saying we can do nothing or
change it.
Put a motion and vote to do nothing. So I don't understand why we wouldn't vote to do nothing or to change it. So why should I not move that we adopt this new policy or not?
We don't have to.
Because it wasn't officially on the agenda as a first reading. No. So, and there's no protocol, there's no official protocol for us to say that we have to do that. We can change the policy at any point in time we want. Right, but that was the idea, that currently the policy is that non-public school students cannot participate in ICSD modified athletics. So if we do nothing, that policy stays in place. Right, so we don't have to take action. The only thing we would take action is if we want to change that to allow modified non-public students to participate in modified sports. That's what I was trying to say, just to make the process go quicker. And you'll see these policies again at a first review when they come with the entire 1,000 series.
Right, these have been pulled out from that 1,000 series. What happened?
My understanding of the history of these legislations was that Policy 1743 was instituted, I think back in 2009? Yeah, adopted July 1st, 2009, and it had to do with, it wasn't just a decision of the district, but as it says in here, it's the New York State Public High School Athletic Association, that the definition of a bona fide student in the district is set by the state and applies to modified sports. And my objection to reopening this was I actually like to uphold rules and regulations, and that my understanding was in this 2009 that the board had said, all right, we will grandfather in these modified kids that we've kept writing exceptions for, but then you have to understand that it will stop. And I believe that's the right course. So I agree with Judy that I'd like to see no-cut modified sports, but I also think we're dealing with a different issue here. In my opinion, we kind of have to be finessing New York State athletic regulations, and there's a reason for, there's a very good reason for limiting participation of bona fide students in the district, and I'll just say Skinny Atlas football last year. And now I know we wouldn't do that, but to me that's important.
Yeah, and in full disclosure, our legal counsel has recommended against open this up. The same sort of rationale we got when we looked at it in 2009 and it was adopted. However, we would not be breaking any rules by allowing non-public students. In other words, the law does not allow, even though the law is messy, it does allow for an exemption for modified athletics only. It does not include extracurriculars, but it does include modified athletics.
Well, let me help us here. I move that we modify our policy on modified participation in sports.
And so it would read, non-school students are permitted to participate in modified sports?
Yes, I move that.
Second.
I'll second it for a vote.
For a discussion. Moved and seconded. Elder, you had a hand up?
There are, someone help me understand the answers to the following questions. Other than participation in non-competitive, non-cut sports, would we not still be saddled with the hypothetical liabilities that come with this participation? EpiPens, asthma attacks. I'd actually would rather talk about that. Because if that liability runs, then that's a discussion I can wrap my mind around.
And if you recall, the conversation last time was all about notions of liability, and thus the reason why the recommendation came not to do it. But bear in mind, we're probably going to be in the same situation in a couple months when we're asked to consolidate for other athletic programs. It's different, but the same sort of concerns, medical forms, liability, those sort of things. And so that's a real question. Your second question?
No, that's the question. I'm assuming if a kid comes from another school district, we could do something about that potential increased liability. I don't know what happens with a kid coming from a home school situation.
This does not apply to homeschool students. Only non-public school students.
Only non-public. So no home, no charter, we're right in the middle.
Yes, right. That's correct. Private school students, in essence, what we're talking about.
We transport these children to school now.
Provide textbooks, provide software and/or technology when and where appropriate as a needed basis or as we have available. We are already required to have some pretty significant relationships with a number of programs, but
and that's late, and that is detailed in the policy, textbook loans, etc.
As required by law.
As the home district, we are required by law to provide a variety of services to those children that live within our district,
including IEP services if a child is identified as special needs.
Okay. Judy, did you want?
No.
Anything else?
So can I just get clarity on the motions on the table so we're all on the same page, right? That the motion would be that policy 1740 would read the second part. In addition, we take out the in addition. Non-public school students will be permitted to participate in non-cut, and we'll figure out what the exact language is.
But if we go to non-cut modified, that means they can participate in anything. ahead of our own.
Why is that, Judy? Tell me, please.
Because it's now going to be non-cut modified.
But there are a bunch of modified sports that are trial sports. There's only a few that are not trial sports.
Aren't we trying to go to non-cut modified?
That's an excellent question. I think we might be heading down that direction.
We're headed in that direction.
That's a good point. Right, so that's a consideration.
Yeah.
Okay.
I still don't understand how that would fit in with the New York State regulation that the bona fide student rule extends to modified sports.
I don't think it does extend.
That's what's in 1743,
which is no longer 1743 is no longer that's an outdated policy.
Have we? But the rule that we reference is not an outdated rule. That hasn't changed. I mean, the documents that you sent around that we discussed in committee made it clear to me that they've extended that varsity, that interscholastic, down to modified, and that we would really have to finesse the language.
NYSBA has been clear that this modified participation of non-public school students is at the discretion of the local district. That's from NYSBA and BSNK. BSNK argues against it. It's quoting law, but again, then you vote against it.
I will, but that's.
That's it.
Since I made the motion, I might as well speak to it briefly and then call the question. I've always supported young people in my community, whether they're in the Ithaca City School District or in a private school, having the fantastic experience of being part of the team and all that comes with it. So that's why I generally, on these questions, like the more open policy that allows a particular actual living young person to run around with his or her friends. And that's why I always support this, whether it's New Roots or whoever else is going on there. So, but let's call the question and see where we're going with this.
Any other comments at this time? Well, we can.
I have a question about calling the question. So even though we've raised issues that we may not necessarily have answers to, we still could hypothetically vote on this now and adopt it with the change.
I think we have a disagreement on whether or not we have answers. I think it's perfectly legal for districts to decide whether or not non-public school students can participate in modified sports. My colleague has a different opinion.
That's not the question I was talking about. My question is, if we decide to do this, do we bear 100% of the liability issues, or because we're talking about students who are coming from other entities, is there some way where we could have clarity on what happens in those circumstances?
I'm just reading the rules on modified sports right now.
Again, this has been done in the past, so I don't know how we've handled it in the past, but this is not a new thing for our. I mean, we've done it and then not done it.
But the reason, my reading of the 2009 policy was that the commissioner extended the interscholastic down to modified, and so there was a change a few years ago. Now, I know less about sports than anyone on this committee or in this room, so that's just my understanding.
Do modified kids run competitions? They do.
Of course. Sure. Not interscholastic.
That's interscholastic.
But not sanctioned by New York State School Athletic Association, whatever the NIS called.
New York State Public High School. But certainly the
general eligibility, pages 133 to 137. I will
scroll quickly.
Oh wait.
Certainly, students are participating against not only local high schools but Southern Tier, lacrosse, football, really cross country, Jason, really all schools that we provide transportation to.
All modified.
Sure. Well, if they have a modified program, then we can create a schedule, and especially if you're, Judy, if you're looking to expand the modified offerings and have more A and B teams, well, we have to find B teams to play. And so that involves going to bigger high school, bigger districts rather than smaller districts. Lansing's not going to have modified A and B anything. You know, they're lucky to have,
Okay. Yeah.
well, lucky to have modified JV programs, frankly.
Okay.
Just because of rural nature. Go ahead.
And no, I did look at this when it first came up. So page 133, under, it says, age upon entry to the 7th grade, a student is eligible for modified programs, becomes ineligible when the 16th birthday is attained. Number 2, bona fide students. A contestant must be a bona fide student of grades 7, 8, 9 of the school represented.
So in my
unless you combine member schools to maintain a team or sport in which you have to do the written request for each team.
That's where we used to do a merger.
That's what we've done before.
That's for public school students.
We did that with Montessori for soccer.
Oh, did.
Yep.
But according to my New York State law book, may non-public school children participate in extracurricular activities at the public schools of the district of residence. Right? According to the Commissioner of Education, school boards have the authority to limit participation. Right? Although there is no legal requirement that non-public school children are granted permission. In other words, there's no right for non-public school children to participate, but the district has the right to make that happen.
But you said extracurricular, and this is sports, and I think there are different rules governing. I hate to take on the chair of the policy committee like this. This
especially
is
I'm not taking that personally. Trust me. We're okay.
No, it's just a policy discussion. It's our interpretation of the rules.
The policy committee is taking over our public meeting. So
it's our day.
It's fine.
And we're loving it.
And so, right, Pat, I think the difference that I read is they keep saying interscholastic sports. They keep making the conversation about interscholastic sports, and I don't see it about modified sports.
Well, it's in this other document. If you go to the bottom of whatever I clicked on, I think it was at the bottom.
Right, and I think you're saying
it's 130. It's page 133. It talks about the extension to modified sports, and I just don't feel that hasn't been resolved to my satisfaction.
Right, and I think we're seeing why. I think we're seeing why Sean and the policy committee brought this to the full board because they're having a lively discussion in policy without resolution.
They're always lively.
Well, like in all our committees. Pat, anything else?
I did not feel that a request from families in this district, whether or not their kids go to the district, should be bottled in committee. Thought it should come open discussion to the board.
Live and in color. Certainly, there's been a question's been called. Let's see if we have a number of votes. All in favor of Seth's motion, which was to allow modified students. It's a modification to the policy to allow modified students wherever they happen to go to school to participate on our teams. It does not address the extracurricular issue. That's a different language that would have to be changed within the policy. All in favor? That is Sean and Seth. Those opposed? Judy, Rob, Pat. Those other? Abstaining would be Brad and Eldred. So it's still a split ticket here.
It didn't pass.
Well, exactly. It didn't pass. But it wasn't quite voted down. There's no vote.
No, it is. If it doesn't get the 5 votes,
it needs 5 votes.
It needs 5 votes.
Well, right, exactly.
So
it did not
voted
pass. Right.
Again, I just have one small question I want answered, and of course, I'm right there with Seth. Let them all come, but let them share the burden. They're father institutions.
And then we'll fail with 3 votes.
What did you say? I missed that. I'm sorry.
I said let them all come, but since we're dealing with established legal entities, because we're not talking about either homeschoolers or other kids, I just want to understand what has happened before. It's been behind the scene negotiation, if any, between to resolve the liabilities.
Right, there's few. There's some abstentions, and certainly willing to revisit this if we can get some clarification on some of the legal items, some of the what the plan is for full participation and non-cut modified programs look like in Ithaca, and what that would entail, what that looks like, and once maybe we have some more clarity, we can revisit it. But for now, anything else? Policies?
John Miller. I'll send you the email. I'll send everyone the email.
Sean, more policies?
No, that was it. The other policies I just put for reference, and we'll see those coming to a theater near you.
So good. We're beyond policies. Gonna wrap it up here pretty quick. Other business by board members or the superintendent or anyone else?
IHS summer graduation tomorrow at 6 in the library. Let's congratulate those who completed their work this summer. I'll be happy to be there.
I will unfortunately be out of town. I never go out of town, but it will be tomorrow. But I encourage anyone. We've had everyone was there last year, and we're going to have a good crowd there. Pat?
Just two points. I will also not be able to be there tomorrow because Code Red Robotics is exhibiting at the State Fair, and I'm one of the parents who has to pick them up at 7:30. And also, Sean, we are having a policy committee meeting at 4 o'clock on Thursday. Is that still on? Because that's not on the upcoming dates here.
Sure.
Well, I mean, I don't. If you don't want to have one, it's not like I'm trying to make one up.
I haven't seen Bob for my part.
We'll talk as a policy committee, and Thursday would be tough to get out for public notice. So.
It would, and that's why
Yeah.
it would kind of have to be tonight or never. I would be okay postponing till the next one I'm here.
Let's bring in the popcorn. 30th and 13th, that's right.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I would just like to say, in conjunction with Eldred and Sam, I went out last week, spent most of the day at the administrative retreat.
Got it.
Good. And I couldn't say more how happy I was, how impressed I was to see the sparkle back and people willing to work. I didn't see anybody who was there just to be there or had to be there. I saw everybody participated and I was impressed. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Judy. I'm glad you reminded me to mention that. Not only were they working, but they were working on some of the key difficult issues of implementing APPR and getting everybody on board with that. And they were really challenging each other to put a good product together and make this work for our students. So thanks for mentioning that.
And Brad, I'm going to ask you just, we had Finance Committee met yesterday, which I don't participate, I just watch the fun, but the district, we did set the tax rate.
Well, if you just set in the next few days when we get the final assessments, what the nice part is, our taxpayers agreed to a 2.3% increase in the taxes. So if you had a $200,000 home, you were agreeing to about a $65 increase in your taxes. Well, our total assessed value in the district has gone up, such that you're going to see your tax rate go from $690 to roughly $1,690 to $1,695. So while you agreed on your $200,000 home to pay $65 more, you're going to pay $10 more. It's so it's great news for all the homeowners in the district, taxpayers. It ends up being a very small tax increase. That isn't the final, but it'll move. If it moves, it'll move by a penny.
Right. It's pretty close.
Pretty close.
Pretty
so
close.
We will continue to be the lowest tax rate of school district in the county.
And with that, Dr. Brown, anything else?
I won't touch that. That'd be the final word.
Exactly. And on that note, motion adjourned by
Second.
By Seth Masson and seconded by Eldred. Without objection, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.